Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, I didn't originally plan to watch this. I had a different movie in mind. I think it's on like Amazon Prime. I might end up watching it next. And then I was looking through Hulu. I was like, okay, let me just see what's on here. And this one had been on my list. I completely forgot about it. I really like musical theater. There are some movie adaptations of musicals I really, really like. Like Chicago's one of them. Um, but when it comes to like newer movie adaptations of musicals, I've been a lot more, I guess, hesitant lately, just because there's been a lot of them. When ones I've seen and ones I haven't seen, but I've heard things about and stuff that I'm not saying for all of them within the past like decade or whatever. Um, that just aren't as good as the original musical, or like movies that seem like they're movie adaptations that seem like they're embarrassed to be, musicals and stuff. So that's made me kind of hesitant. This one, I didn't really know anything about it or the people behind it. I wish I did earlier. I would have watched it sooner. I didn't know Steven Spielberg, of all people, was the director for this movie, and I feel like that makes a lot of sense watching it. Um, but no, this was pretty good actually, as like as an adaptation. I have seen the original West Side Story, like the movie from the '60s. It's kind of funny actually. My dad isn't really into musical theater. He doesn't really like it or anything, but my mom and I do. My dad was the one that kind of, not that he got me to watch the original, or actually no. No, I think I'd asked him about it, the West Side Story movie from the '60s, and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good. You should watch it." And he actually watched it with me, and it was really nice. It's like the one time he's actually sat to watch a musical with me. And it was kind of funny because he came in the room when I was watching this remake as well. And it was during the song Somewhere, and he said, like, "Oh, I really like that song." And he actually hung out for a bit to listen to it. So that's kind of nice, actually. This is like the one musical where he's actually chill with it and stuff. Cause he does, it's not even anything with the stories and musicals that he doesn't like. He just doesn't really like that everyone's singing all the time and stuff. Um, so that's just kind of funny to me how that worked out. Anyway, yeah, I watched it with my dad, the 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 original and stuff. Oh gosh, probably like 5 years ago or so, or no, no, I forgot it's 2026. It's been it's been quite a while. I was maybe in my teens actually, but I remember I really liked the original. I'll compare it a little bit with this one as I'm talking through my notes. Um, it's been a while since I've seen it, so the thing is, I couldn't really tell sometimes how many things were new and how many things were just stuff I hadn't really remembered. Visually, I was very, very impressed with this. Visually, this movie was freaking beautiful. There's this one shot in particular I really, really liked where the character Tony he's like singing this song, um, and there's like a puddle on the ground behind him, and the camera's above him, and I don't know how you can make such a beautiful shot out of a puddle. It's just the way the light reflects and stuff. It looked great, and I was looking at it thinking like, if only there wasn't a person in the middle. Doesn't matter who the person is, but if there wasn't a person there and it was just that shot of the puddle itself, that would be really, really nice. But there's like a couple other shots I really liked. But this movie visually looks so cinematic and everything. I need to look more into like the people who made this movie. Honestly, I'm like, okay, who's in charge for doing the cinematography and everything, and I need to see what else you've done. And like the colors too. Oh my gosh, I gotta look into that as well. The colors in this really popped and everything. I think that helped make the movie look more, I guess, less modern. I don't know if that's like the right way of saying it. It kind of reminded me of watching like older movies in Technicolor a bit, where all of the colors just really stand out. And I don't know if that was used for this one, but visually this looked great. That was like the strongest thing for me with this movie. And I like that it isn't afraid to be a musical or anything. The way um, everything's like set up. It didn't feel like I'm watching things on a stage, or like they're thrown into, you know how movies can, I'm trying to think of the right, like it doesn't look like it's real in a sense. I don't mean in like a CGI way, but in a you can tell you're watching a movie. I like that it does look, even though it'll have like the dramatic lighting and things sometimes, it looks like it takes place in the real world. I don't really know exactly what to call that, but it was something I really appreciated. I could go on and on about the visuals in this, honestly. Music was good too. I From what I remember, I don't think there was any new songs. If there were, I didn't notice. I don't think there was, but I'm not sure on that. There's a lot of songs in this musical I like anyway. My favorite song is Maria. There was actually, okay, two things I really liked while watching the original that I was kind of curious slash excited to see how they do. The first was the song Maria, which I did not feel wowed this time. I don't really know the original cast for the movie from the 60s and stuff. Like whoever plays Tony in that and does the vocals and everything for the song Maria in the original movie. Oh my gosh, I remember the first time I watched that scene. I got goosebumps. It was crazy. With this one, I just was not wowed, but this movie, I feel like I have the problem, same problem I do with the what is it, 2004, 2005. It's the early 2000s movie adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera. I believe it's from like 2004. It's the same problem I have with both of those. I think with Phantom of the Opera, it comes more so easily across, where it's like everyone sings really well except the person playing the male lead is just outshined by everyone. But they're like, with both this and with Phantom of the Opera, they're playing characters that, they're like one of the main leads and they need to do a lot of singing or have like really well known songs. So it's like a huge bummer when you'll get to a song where they get like a solo or something and you're like, all right, but then it's someone who can't really sing as good as everyone else. Not saying that either of them, like Gerard Butler, the guy that plays Tony in this, are bad or anything. It's just like everyone else is so much better. I especially noticed that with like Phantom of the Opera. Um, that's the one I have more of this problem with. But with this one, like the guy that plays Tony can sing and stuff. I just didn't really care for him overall in this. I feel like acting wise and also singing wise, then again, I haven't seen this dude in a movie in like years. I saw him and I was like, oh, it's the guy that was in The Fault in Our Stars, which came out in like 2013 or something. I haven't watched that in years. But yeah, here I just didn't really care for him, and it just sucks because like the actress that plays Maria, I feel like the actresses that play Maria and that plays Anita, they do, in my opinion, the best out of everyone. Honestly, they both did so good. Like especially acting wise, to me, their characters really stood out. But Maria, um, man, the actress that plays Maria does awesome. I think vocally she sounds great, and so it's awkward when she'll have these romantic duets between like Tony and Maria and stuff, and she vocally overpowers him and stuff. But she just sounds so much better that it's just like, it's the same problem I have with Phantom, where I'm like, your female lead sounds so good and sings like an angel. You need the other lead, the male lead, to be able to match that. That's why, I made a video, I think, on the. Sorry, I keep talking about Phantom of the Opera, but I feel like these kind of relate a little bit. What was it, the 25th or whatever, the 2011 Phantom of the Opera anniversary performance concert, whatever, that I think I did a video on, where they did have someone that, like, both of the leads sang really well, and I remember saying, like, oh my gosh, that this is what it's supposed to sound like, I I need that for this movie, which I guess that means I need to get my ass to a theater and see people that can, like, actually do both parts well. But yeah, that's something with this movie that I feel like definitely brings it down. If this wasn't a musical, maybe I'd have less of a problem with it, but I didn't really care for his act. I'll get into that in a minute. But because it's a musical and he's playing one of the main leads, I'm like, you can do better. Um, I think vocally, the guy that was playing Tony, the song I was cool with though. Um, oh gosh, wait, what was it called? I say the Spotify page open. I think it's called Something's Coming. That was fine. I liked how he sounded in that. But then once it gets to the song Maria, and I love that one, so I know it's like probably partial bias, where it's like Tony's having this grand romantic solo song about, his feelings for this girl named Maria, and it's supposed to be this big thing, but I just was not wowed by it here, and I was so bummed. Yeah, no, acting wise, the guy that plays Tony, I feel like he doesn't really. I'm trying to think of the right word. Like when you're feeling emotional and your voice changes to match that, whatever that is, I was just not feeling it from him, which felt kind of weird because this is like a very dramatic musical. But also, I mean, his character is supposed to be kind of emotional, of being this guy that suddenly meets this girl and is immediately falling in love with her and stuff, to the point where that causes a lot of the decisions he makes. Because it's like based in Romeo and Juliet. It even follows the same way, where it's like the guy is like, I am immediately in love with this girl, and the girl is rightfully like a little more cautious and stuff. Um, Okay, I need to actually get in my notes. I didn't mean. I have another movie I want to go watch. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse than this, but I want to go do that. So let me go through a bit more of my notes. Okay, but yeah, the song Maria, that was one of the things I was hyped for, and I felt let down. Oh yeah, the intro in this, where it's just the jazz instrumental of all the jets running around and stuff. That's really cool. I love jazz, so all of the jazz instrumentals in this, those make me happy. But the intro, I think is pretty cool. Um, but my favorite shot from the '60s movie, I don't like 100% clearly remember it. I might get some details wrong, and it was the part in the movie when I watched it for the first time. I was like, okay, this is lit. I need to really pay attention with this. I was like, it got me interested. Um, it's the part when the characters are they're at their like dance and stuff, and Maria and Tony first see each other from across the hall, and I kind of vaguely remember what it looks like from the original, where the camera's really far away and you see them and they're walking towards each other through all of these dancers, and everything kind of slows down, the music slows down. And what I remember the most was the lighting. Everything looked really soft as they're like staring at each other from across the room or something, and where it gives the feeling of like no one else matters at that point. And that was just something that moment wowed me, the point where I remember it all these years later. I was kind of hoping for that. I was like, oh, what are they gonna do? Because I actually really like the lighting in this movie. It's nice. It's nice in a movie. I feel like I have to judge every movie I see with this. When they have scenes that take place at night where I can actually see shit, the lighting for those are good. Like, I mean, you can even see it here on this poster and stuff, where it's the scene in the fire escape, like the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. That takes place at night, and I mean, it's a lot darker within the actual movie, but it looks really good. Um, but yeah, I was so excited. I'm like, I need to see a recreation of them looking at each other across the hall, the room and stuff, and it's a bit different. It's just more of like close-ups of their faces. They still have kind of the softer lighting, but I just wasn't feeling it as much. I didn't really feel as romantic. And then they go behind some bleachers to talk to each other and to dance a little bit. I don't remember if that's in the original. Oh, sorry, house phone rang. It was spam. Anyway, yeah, I wanted a recreation of that scene. I get what they were trying to go for, but I was just like, Um, but yeah, those are the two things I was most excited to see, and I didn't get either. But there was a lot of other stuff I liked, like the puddle. The puddle. I don't really know what else to call it. It's just this part where Tony's singing, and there's this shot where he's standing in a puddle, and just the light reflections of it was so good. And I'm like, why does he have to stand in the middle of the puddle though? That ruins it. Um, or I love the shot as well, when Tony's finished singing the song Maria, and you see Maria behind him, and she's standing on the fire escape in that white dress like that, but like, the lighting's different and stuff. It looked really nice. And then they have a duet together. Um, they have the song Tonight. That's always a good song. There's so many well-known songs in this. Like I said, the guy that plays Tony, his voice is. I feel like they could have gotten someone that's a bit stronger. I feel like I really noticed that during the song Tonight when they're singing together and stuff. But that song still sounds pretty good. What else? I already said what was it called? Something's Coming. That one I liked. I think that was one of the only ones I added onto my Spotify playlist, actually. I need to add some of the other ones, maybe. Um, Something I really appreciated with this was, they actually had characters speaking Spanish in this. They didn't have that, in the original, from what I remembered. And that was really nice, though it did get really annoying. But I understand, because it's like the time that the movie's taking place and stuff, where characters would be speaking Spanish for a little while, and then any of the other characters, that didn't speak Spanish were just like, English, please. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But I understand that's like, the time that the movie takes place and stuff. There's a lot of racism in this movie. That's also kind of the point with it as well. I'm glad that I watched this with subtitles, actually, because I was, watching this at home. I don't know if I would have seen this in a theater, to be honest, now that I've watched it. I think visually this would have looked really freaking cool on a big screen, but I've never really cared for the story and characters of this musical, if I'm honest. There's other ones I like better. But yeah, I'm glad it had subtitles, because I can understand Spanish, but not very well, and I kind of understand more than I can actually speak, but I don't really understand a ton. And then there was times in the movie, when the characters are talking to each other and they're talking very fast in Spanish, and it's like I'm missing every couple of words, so it's easier for me, of having the subtitles on and I can read what they're saying, and or like pause if I need to, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting more of the context. I feel like with Spanish, I guess because I learned most of it in school, compared to like speaking with family and stuff. It's easier for me to understand if I'm reading than listening to people. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad that they get to speak Spanish here. It happens a lot throughout the movie. Um, I'm trying to think, because I was fine with having the subtitles, because I can sort of read it, but it was also I'm trying to think, like, what would their thought process have been with the people that made this movie. I almost wish they did have English subtitles for when characters were speaking Spanish, like included in the movie itself. Not I'm not just saying that because I couldn't understand every word, but I feel like there's meanings of things and interactions with characters I feel like you don't really understand if you don't understand what they're saying, if that makes sense. But I'm fine with them also not having those subtitles. I'm just kind of thinking, like, um let's see what else. I noticed they changed locations and times of days for a lot of the songs. Like the song America, I remember it takes place on a rooftop at night, and I actually like the changes that they made, that it takes place during the day, and instead of the characters being confined to this rooftop, they're kind of going all throughout the city and stuff, and all these different locations. And with it being daytime made it easier to see. I think especially because I remember a lot of the characters were wearing yellow specifically. It was like yellows and pinks and stuff, and I feel like with the daytime lighting, it made it a lot easier to see. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, I think one of the only new characters they had, from what I remember, the actress, I think her name was Rita Moreno, who played Anita in the '60s movie. She plays a character here named Valentina, who's this shop owner, this older woman that a lot of the characters, both the Sharks and the Jets trust. I like the addition of her character actually, where she's introduced in the movie of kind of being a friend of Tony's, um, and he kind of goes to her throughout the movie for advice. You know what? Actually, I'm not sure. I thought she was a new character, but I think now that I'm thinking about it, I remember there was some kind of shop owner character that the kids trusted in the 60s one. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I don't remember the character being an old woman. That might have been one of the changes they made. But I liked this character, how Tony, is like head over heels in love with Maria. And there's this scene where he's asking her how to say certain phrases in Spanish and wanting to tell Maria of like, oh, I want to be with you forever. And Valentina tells him like, hey, why don't you just start with I want to take you to coffee or something, which that's the thing that's always funny to me with Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I know the characters are older in this one compared to like the Romeo and Juliet story, where here I don't know how old Tony is, but Maria's at least like 18. um with Romeo and Juliet, where I think they are actually like younger teenagers or something. I always thought Juliet was supposed to be like 13, where Romeo is just like head over heels in love with her, and Juliet's a little more chill. And I'm thinking, besides the fact that the story takes place only a couple of days, like with this movie, it takes place in 2 days, and that's still like crazy to me. Where it's like, I want to be with you forever, and it's like you guys barely know each other. Okay. Anyway, and then I ate some lunch. I ate a pretty kick-ass sandwich. I had the movie on while I was making my sandwich. And then so I wasn't always staring at the screen, but I was hearing things, and I was eating, and I had my phone near me. I could have taken notes while I was eating. That would have been fine. But as I was eating my lunch, I wasn't really finding things in the movie I really wanted to write down, so I didn't write things down for a while. I don't really have a ton of notes anyway. I didn't start taking notes from the beginning. I started taking notes um, once it got to like the ballroom dancing scene and stuff. But yeah, then I skipped taking notes for a while because I really like the first half of the movie or so, or like the first, like once it gets to the third act, I feel like it kind of slows down a bit. But like most of the movie, I feel like is kind of a bit of a faster pace, and once you get towards the end, it kind of slows down. And I know it's because the stakes are getting more serious, people are dead and stuff, but I feel like I kind of become a bit less interested at that point. Um, Let me see. One of my favorite scenes, actually, it's when Tony and Riff they're fighting over a gun, because this is the point where the gun is introduced in the story. And they're kind of half fighting each other, half kind of dancing around each other. I just thought it looked cool, honestly. But it also made me nervous because the characters are dancing on like some pier and they're fighting over this gun. But there's these like two big holes they keep having to like jump over and stuff, and I'm like, oh, someone's gonna fall in there. I mean, I knew no one did, but it made me kind of nervous. Um, I wish I could remember from the other movie when the song Somewhere ends up getting sung. Because I remember it being by Tony and Maria, but then in this one it's Valentina who ends up singing it instead. I did kind of like that choice because her character has this backstory of like marrying someone who's white. I I think it's implied her husband has like passed away or something because you never see him around. I just assumed so. And she ends up singing this song, I think right after some of the characters end up dead. Um, I feel like it kind of, having her being the one to sing it, kind of gave the song more meaning, in my opinion, at least the way I interpreted it. Where she's saying that this, like, younger generation, they're having all this, like, beef with each other and stuff, and things kind of aren't really getting better, things haven't really changed. Um, I don't remember where Tony and Maria end up singing. I thought it was during the church scene, but I might be thinking of some. Oh yeah, there's a scene that takes place in a church where Tony and Maria are doing like vows, and in this one I don't remember if it was like that in the '60s one too. They're standing in front of this huge window with this stained glass, and it's during the day. I swear I remember a lot of these scenes in the other one being at night for some reason. Maybe those were changes, maybe I'm misremembering things. But the stained glass, it looked really pretty, honestly. That was also visually one of my favorite parts in the movie. It made the lighting kind of look a little weird, but I mean, I get it, it's through stained glass, so it's going to be more color in the lights. I don't know, I just always have a soft spot for stained glass windows. Let me see. And then it eventually gets to this point where Tony's shot. I'm skipping over a couple of things, but that's because I want to talk about his death for a minute. It could be because I've seen the movie before and I remembered which characters were going to die. Because that part of it didn't really change or anything. I don't think so. Because when I watched the movie, the 60s one, I was way more emotionally invested, but I think it was because it was my very first time with the story of West Side Story, so that could be it. But Tony in this died I don't remember if he died that quickly or not. I didn't feel any emotion this time, and I'm wondering, is it context? Is it because I've seen the movie before that I knew it was going to come? I don't know. He dies so fast. I think it doesn't emotionally hit me in this anyway, where it's like he gets shot. He's like walking, him and Maria are walking towards each other. He gets shot. Maria sings for like 2 seconds, and then he's just gone. It made it actually feel like a realistic death rather than a movie death, you know, when characters die in movies and it's like kind of slow and really drawn out, or they have a last couple of words or something. I mean, Maria's singing him as he's dying, so I guess that does make it a little bit more of a movie death. But then he's just like gone. Like it all happens so fast. I'm like, wow, that does feel kind of real. But yeah, it didn't emotionally affect me, and there could be a number of reasons for that. I'm very curious. It almost makes me want to see if I almost want to go watch the 60s one. I keep calling it the 60s one because I mean I'm guessing there wasn't a West Side Story movie before the one from the 60s and stuff, the one with Natalie Wood. But this is a musical, so I don't know if it was originally like a stage musical. So I don't know if the version from the 60s is a movie adaptation as well. I gotta look that up. But yeah, Tony dying didn't emotionally affect me at all. But then Maria, actually, I wasn't really emotionally affected by anything in this movie. But Maria, when she picks up the gun, or actually, no, she takes the gun from Chino, and he doesn't have any more dialogue for the rest of the movie, actually. And she's telling the Jets and the Sharks, she says, "I can kill now because I hate now," and she's pointing the gun at all of them. I thought that part was really well acted, actually. And then they end up taking Tony's body, and it's assumed like no one's gonna fight each other anymore. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I liked that during the credits, it's just an instrumental of the song Tonight. I feel like if it was a song that had lyrics or something, because it ends on such a kind of somber tone with one of the like lead characters being dead, that it shouldn't have anything that's too cheerful or whatever. I feel like ending on the instrumental of that song felt right. Honestly, it matched the tone and everything. I didn't remember that Sondheim did the lyrics for this movie. I feel like when I'm thinking back to the songs lyrically, it's like, yeah, that kind of is his writing style, and them being kind of a bit more faster paced. But yeah, this was good. You know what? I'm glad there's been at least one movie adaptation of a musical in a while from the past like 5 years or so that I've actually liked. Not saying that like all of them are bad or anything, and I've not seen every movie adaptation of a musical on Earth or anything compared to like recent ones. Because I think this is from 2021 and I'm watching this in 2026, but I liked this visually. I think the visuals for me were the strongest, honestly. But like music wise, I thought it was pretty good too, but I also already liked the songs anyway. Alright, I'm gonna go. Bye bye.